And really, I should have been recording these all along just so that I had them available. So I'm going to try my best to remember to record them as we go. I hope all of you had a great Thanksgiving. I hope that you were able to unplug and basically get away from work for a while. I know it's been very stressful, and we want to avoid burnout as much as possible. And so I hope that you all were able to do that and that you enjoyed your families and enjoyed your time off. So this morning, we're going to be talking about flipped learning with videos. And we will be using the chat feature just so that you can answer some questions. There'll be a little bit of interactivity here. But let me ask you something. What is flipped learning? And if you'll go ahead and just put your answer in the chat. What is flipped learning? I know we've heard about it. We've talked about it. And I bet a lot of you know what that means. Activities that can be done outside the traditional class time. Okay. Students learn the lesson first on their own, then go to class and ask questions. Good. That's good. It could be to front load any information. Yep. What else? What is flipped learning? What's a traditional, right? Front loading a lesson. Yep. Anybody else? Visual presentation. Yep. All right. Well, we've got several answers here that actually are all correct, but there's maybe a little bit more learning than what you might expect. So let me start here with, there we go, with a quote. And it says, video instruction makes me feel like I've been able to clone myself. What do you think the teacher means by this? Unlimited viewing, I like that too. Some of the learning is on the student's own time. Yep. So what do you think the teacher means? This is a quote from a teacher, Kate Gaskill, that uses flipped learning regularly. Deliver instruction as needed, as many times as needed. She can be in many places at once. Very good, Martha. I like that. Recording themselves allows for students to review lessons. Yep. Teacher doesn't have to repeat information. Love that. Love that. What else? Video instruction makes me feel like I've been able to clone myself. Any other ideas as to what that might mean? What she means by that? Okay, it allows the teacher to teach many things at once. Yep. Delivering instruction, addressing the needs of each student. Okay, yep, you can use video in that way, definitely. So I'm going to tell you what the definition that I always heard as far as what is flipped learning. It's basically using videos, allowing students to get the concepts or get the ideas, get the skills from a video, and then coming back into class and the teacher facilitating the actual application of whatever it is they learned through video. And that was sort of the initial training or the initial definition that I received. And what you usually think of is that students would go home and as homework, they watch a video. They watch a video on whatever skill or concept it is the teacher is going to be covering the next day. It's basically their first teach. They don't have to really do anything much else with it. Maybe take notes, maybe go back and re-listen to it, making sure that they use their metacognition to determine whether or not they're understanding what the video is telling them. If they're not, then they can go back and relook at it and go over the parts that they don't understand. If it's a math video, they can go back and practice it, but they do that from home. And then the idea is they come into class the next day, and then the teacher helps them apply that knowledge that they've learned. They can ask questions, but they apply it. The teacher doesn't have to do that, spend all of that time on that first teach. That was my initial idea, or my initial learning about flipped videos or flipped learning. And so the teacher here, Kate Gaskill, talks about video instruction makes her feel like she's been able to clone herself. Meaning, if you've got a clone, there's more than one of you, right? And using video allows you to be in many places at one time, right? You can have multiple videos of whatever that lesson is available for students. And I saw many of you said it allows kids to go back and relook, rethink, rewind, go back, look at the parts they didn't understand, visit it as often as possible or as needed, so that they can learn a concept, or they can learn something that whatever it is, whatever that skill or concept is, that they can spend the time that they need and not just have to move along with the class and go at the same pace as everyone else in the class. Because some kids are going to scrub through that video and say, I know this, I'm good. Some kids are going to go through it and say, oh, okay, I get it. And some kids are going to go through it 5 or 7 times thinking, okay, maybe I have it now. But they can do it at their own time, their own pace, and not feel like they're either being left behind or being bored, depending on what end of the spectrum they're at. And so to me, that what this quote means is that she can be in many places at once. So let's go ahead and look here. So do you all remember when we talked about a partnership model? We talked about creating partnerships with your students and creating those relationships, basically, so that you become a partner with them, instead of you being the teacher in the front, them being the receivers of the information and knowledge, and you throw it out and they catch it and grab it as best they can. So in a partnership model, you're basically developing those relationships with kids. And we know that in order to do that, you have to be able to conference with kids often, and talk about their progress, talk about how they're doing, talk about what their next steps are. You have to conference with kids in order to set goals. And that needs to be done as often as they reach goals. So some kids, it may take them 2 weeks to reach a goal. Some kids may reach it in 2 or 3 days. And so a lot of times, you know, I'll have people asking, well, how often do I have to set goals with kids? Well, it depends on the kid. It depends on how quickly they reach the goals that they've set, and how quickly they need to move on. And so that there's not a hard and fast answer for that. But in order to create that partnership, you have to be able to sit with kids and create that relationship with them, and talk to them about their progress and talk to them about their goals. You can also, or another thing that you should be doing, or teachers should be doing, is conducting side-by-side assessments. You can do an assessment with them without it being written paper pencil or, you know, typed on the computer. You can do an assessment just through conversation and determine what it is that kids know or don't know. And so those are things that are pretty much required in order to build a partnership with your students. They have to feel like you're vested in their interests, that you are interested in how they're doing and what they should be doing and where they should be going next. And in a traditional model, when you're standing at the front of the room, you're really just sort of talking to the room, and hopefully kids that can keep up will keep up, and the rest of them, you know, will have to, you know, fall behind, whatever it is, because you're going to continue to move on. But with a partnership model, that doesn't happen. You are trying to find ways to help each student individually. So my question to you is, so how does that happen? When I've got 25 kids in a classroom, it takes forever for me to meet with kids one-on-one, or even small group. Sometimes that can be difficult for teachers. So let me go here. There we go. So what does the rest of the class do when the teacher is meeting with one student? What does the rest of the class do? Well, before we answer that, I want you to think about the following. Let's think about these questions. First of all, do your teachers trust their students? Do your teachers trust their students to do the right thing and to do the work that they've been assigned or that they need to complete in order to move forward? What do you think? Do your teachers trust their students? Why or why not? What do you think? I know you guys are out there. I can see you. You're moving.
Shelley, it's almost, good morning, everyone. It's almost as if they're still learning to trust them, because even, this process, and I've seen a change from the beginning of the school year to even, to now. It's quite a while to establish some routines and to get kids on board a lot longer than it did before. But I do see that trust growing. So it may not be there 100% with all 20 kids, but I do see an improvement in that.
Okay, very good, very good. And I'm talking even generally speaking, even in a traditional model, do teachers trust students? Because I know, and I know you guys are like, oh, I don't want to write anything. I don't know about this. We've got a couple of answers. They have to model the behavior that's expected. It might take several attempts. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, teachers need to trust their students. Yes, but it's the teacher's responsibility to build it. Yep, that's true. You can't just turn kids loose and say, good luck, I trust you, do the right thing, right? But how many of your teachers have difficulty even thinking about turning their students loose, even allowing their students to move away from them and to work on their own? How many of your teachers have a difficult time doing that? Let's be honest, probably most. That's true. It says do students trust their teachers? That's true. That's important as well, isn't it? It's a two-way street. It has to be both. It has to be, students have to trust teachers. Teachers need to trust students. Yes. It requires a lot of modeling before you trust students to do what they're supposed to do. That's true. That's true. I like the way you guys are saying, well, let me tell you how it happens. And you're absolutely right. But generally speaking, do teachers trust that students will do the right thing just on their own? Probably not. I think that is one of the most difficult things for teachers to do when they begin blended learning, is to start letting go a little bit. And that's not uncommon. I'm not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying that it is something that's very difficult for teachers to do. And so why or why not? Why do they not trust students, or why do they trust them? Usually it's because it depends on what has happened to or what experiences teachers have had in the past with students, right? And if they've had students that have taken advantage of them, then that's usually not forgotten easily. And that will carry over to, next year's students or next year's students after that. Let's see, Veronica says, I like to create a menu or a checklist so that students know what they need to work on. Yep. This helps me build the trust because I know they're on task. So, but it does allow them to go off and choose what they're going to work on, right? Depending on what's on the menu. And they're able to go off and work on that. Do you trust that the students are going to work on what it is that they've been assigned or what they've chosen off the menu? LaSalle says instructional time is limited, and we don't want to waste time. Absolutely. We want to make sure students are learning, and we don't want to lose classroom management. Accountability is crucial. Yep, it is. It is. It absolutely is. But who are we holding accountable? Are we holding ourselves accountable more than the students are holding themselves accountable? Think about that for just a minute. I know when I was in the classroom, I think we talked about this, or I talked about this before. When I was in the classroom, I was the one that was accountable for everything. And I made sure I was the one that worried whether or not Johnny or Susie or Mary or Jim or whoever they are had completed their work. And I was the one bringing them in, giving them extra time. I was the one making all this effort. But I didn't see the kids making any effort. And I couldn't figure out why it wasn't important to them, or why it wasn't something that the whole thing is I didn't feel like they could do it on their own. I felt like as the teacher, it was my job to be right there, teaching the lesson and monitoring every step of the way, right? You're not going to go off in a group over there and work, and I'm not going to trust that you're going to do that on your own, because it's my responsibility to make sure you're doing exactly what I've asked you to do, right? Okay. So let me just ask you this. Are students, do you think students are capable of completing their work and learning on their own? Do you think they even have that capability? Or do they need the teacher right there with them? Sarah says yes. LaSalle says yes. Absolutely capable with built-in supports. Yep. Veronica says yes. Martha says some can. Martha, can you explain that a little bit? Some can, but others can't. What do you mean by that? And yes, of course, as long as it's modeled. Okay. So this kind of, and in my mind anyway, goes back, can all students learn? What do you think? I know we hear that a lot, all students can learn, but do we believe it? Do we actually believe it? We say it, but do we really think about what that means? Yes, of course, as long as it's model, I got that. Students will rise to the level of expectation. Absolutely. When students build intrinsic motivation, and have the tools needed to achieve their goals. Okay. Yep. And Veronica says, absolutely. All right. All students can learn. You're absolutely right. And all students learn differently. All students do have different capabilities, different abilities, but I do think that every student can learn. I do feel like every student has the ability to learn, regardless of what that looks like. It's not going to look the same for every single kid. And so are students capable of completing their work and learning? And I say yes. I say yes, they absolutely are, regardless of what level they're at, regardless of what it is that they are trying to learn. Thank you. Let's see. Should students be allowed to learn on their own? Should we allow any asynchronous learning? And do they learn anything? I know I've heard lots of times when I was in the classroom, for sure, that, I don't like to send homework home because they don't learn anything. And that's probably true, depending on what the homework is or what it is that we're requiring. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big believer in homework. I feel like kids spend 8 hours a day in school learning, and they should have some time to be kids. But that's me, and we could have a big conversation about that. But should students be allowed to learn on their own is a question. What do you think? Kids are great at finding resources on their own and driving their own learning when given the correct guidance. Yep. And Laura says, yes, because we're preparing for the real world. Absolutely. At some point, they're going to have to do it on their own, right? We're not going to be there checking to make sure every I is dotted and every T is crossed. Somebody else is going to be checking that. Yes, it teaches them independence. It shows them responsibility. Yep, it teaches them to be responsible. And yes, they should be allowed because exploration is important, but they need guidance and feedback. They do. Absolutely. That's what the teacher's for. Teacher is there to facilitate, to guide, to provide feedback, all of those things. Absolutely. All right. So we do believe that students can learn on their own. Especially think about this. If they want to learn something that has nothing to do with school, although in some cases it might, but let's say it's a video game. We know kids like video games. If they're really into that video game, do I need to teach them how to do that? I'm not going to teach them. They're going to figure it out. They're going to talk to their friends. They're going to research online. They're going to get codes. They're going to do whatever it takes to get them to that next level of understanding or next level of mastery. And isn't that what we want our kids to be able to do regardless of what the topic is? To be able to find the answers without us there showing and feeding it to them? And I was the worst. I'm telling you right now, I was the worst as far as feeding them answers and feeding them, making sure that they had what they needed and giving, but not getting much back. So what keeps students from learning on their own? Now, this is actually a big question. What keeps students from learning? Yep, I like that. Miss Myers did this. She pointed at herself. I like it. I love it. Because in reality, that's true. We keep our kids from learning on their own. Why? Have you ever heard of an enabler? What's an enabler? You allow them, yeah, absolutely, me too. You allow them to be unaccountable, or is that even a word? But not be accountable for their own learning because you're doing it for them. And you're constantly here watching, and you never give them the opportunity to do it on their own, to show you that they can do it on their own. And so we're teaching kids to just wait until either the answers are given to them or until we bring them in and work with them one-on-one and give them the answers again, right? But we don't hold them accountable for themselves. I always feel, when I think of myself teaching, I always feel like I was a huge enabler with my kids. So how do students learn to self-regulate, think critically, problem solve, or collaborate productively? How do they learn that if we never give them the opportunity? And let's see, Laura said, or let me go back up. So self-doubt, dependence, limits, yep. We're afraid to let go, absolutely. We want to limit their struggles and stumbling. That's right, we do. We think we're doing the right thing because as a teacher, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to make school understandable, accessible. I'm trying to make sure they get what I'm sharing with them, but I never give them the responsibility to figure that out on their own. And so you're right, they don't feel trusted. They don't feel like we trust them. They don't feel like, whether they can verbalize that or not, that's just sort of what we're building into their psyche, I suppose. Isaac says if we're talking online environment, then their home environment's a huge contributing factor that keeps students from learning or not learning. And that can be true. That can be true, absolutely. But if we've never given that, I think one reason that's difficult for students is because in class, they're used to us being right there next to them, teaching, providing answers, providing whatever it is that they need. And they go home and mom and dad may or may not provide that. The environment could be very, very different than the classroom. And they're not used to having that autonomy. They're not used to having that trust. And so they're waiting for someone else to provide that for them. So we learn by putting it into practice, modeling, yep, absolutely. Give them a chance to fail and then fix it. Not so black and white. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So So really what we need to do is we need to build a culture of trust with students. We spend way too much time believing that students aren't capable or are not willing to complete work unless the teacher is providing instruction and motivation in every aspect of this, in every aspect of what the student does. The goal really, or my goal, the goal really should be to teach students to learn on their own. And I've seen many of you say yes with guidance, yes with routines and procedures, yes with, and absolutely, it's something that has to be taught. It's something that we need to encourage. It's something that we need to move towards with students. If the campus culture doesn't believe this to be true, all of these things that we've been talking about, then we continue to enable students to not be accountable, unaccountable. I don't think that's a word. It doesn't feel right when I say it. But we need to teach students how to be self-learners. Okay. Any questions? No, because you guys are really giving me the answers here. So let's look here. So what are the benefits of, now let's get back to what we were actually talking about, right? We were talking about flip videos and talking about students learning on their own and talking about teachers giving students those opportunities to learn on their own and to, yes, fail and go back and do it again and find out what works best for them. To use their metacognitive abilities to determine, how do I learn best? What am I going to do in order to be successful in this? Not what does the teacher want me to do? What is it? Okay, I'm doing it. There. Is that what you want? There you go. Where it has nothing to do with them intrinsically, it's just trying to get through and them complying, right? So what are the benefits of using videos or this is also the in-class flip? Now, we've talked about using videos, or I suggested that what flipped videos or flipped learning was doing the video at home, coming back to school, and having teachers facilitate and help students apply that knowledge, right? However, there is another way of using videos. You can use them in class as part of what you do to extend yourself, to stretch yourself to be more than one person. So traditional teachers, and some of you mentioned this, traditional teachers spend a great deal of time or a great deal of class time. We talked about how valuable class time is and how we want to use every moment. That's absolutely true. But if I'm standing in front of the classroom giving directions or explaining directions multiple times, how many times do we say it once and walk away and never say it again? Rarely, rarely. I know that I would put those things into place, you know, talk to another or talk to three before you talk to me, but they would always end up coming to me anyway. What are we supposed to be doing? And I would put it on the board and I would give them a handout and I would put it on the computer and they would still ask me, what am I supposed to be doing? And so I spent a great deal of time explaining the directions, and I would explain them multiple times. We also spend a lot of time in front of the classroom giving instruction. Giving instruction, and meaning, you know, providing a lesson. And again, providing a lesson for everybody in the classroom when we know maybe a third of the kids are going to be getting it, and a third are going to be way beyond it, and then a third are going to have no idea what we're doing because they aren't at that point yet. And so I spend a lot of time trying to get everyone to understand when everybody's at a different place, a different level of learning. And also just repeating my instructions, repeating again, and repeating again. And we do this with adults as well. We tune out, and then when we think, oh, I should be paying attention, what are we doing? Kids do it as well. And so that takes time from the actual instruction in class. So if you use videos in class, it actually allows the teacher to work with small groups or individuals. It allows the teacher to record directions, record instructions, have those available in a playlist. One thing that we have found during this whole pandemic thing is our Mini Mondays have been extremely popular. We have a playlist for the Mini Mondays, and people go and view those often because it's available for them. They can go and look at them as needed. They can get information. They can self-teach, right? Using the one session that we provided, that Misha provided. She did it once, and she doesn't have to necessarily go back and do it again and again and again, because it's available now for any teacher that is interested in that topic or wants to learn more. And the same with students. You can make those available for students. So using videos in a classroom allows students to control their own pace. It allows students to access information at any time. I can look at it now. I can go back and scrub through it multiple times. I can look at it tonight if I don't feel like I got it. I can look at it tomorrow. I can look at it in a week or 2 weeks if I think I'm going to have a test or something over it, but it's always there and it's always available. And they can look at it as many times as they want to, and nobody has to know. It allows students to repeat lessons as slowly or as often as needed. It also allows them to catch up if they're absent or new in class. I come in new, I'm new today, I have no idea what you're doing. Well, here are a couple of videos that you can watch to kind of get you caught up. Or I was absent yesterday, or I've been out, or I'm having to work from home. So here's the lessons. Here they are, you can use them. And here are the activities to go along with those. Guess what? It also allows parents to support students at home. How many times, and I was guilty, my daughter was in dual language and my Spanish is about 0. And even when she was in pre-K and kinder, she would come home with homework and I would look at it and think, I have no idea. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. And I couldn't really help her. But if I would have had some video instructions or something to assist me with that, or math, my son was on his own. Thank goodness he was good at math, because I was good until about 6th grade, and after that it was over. But having videos to help or assist with instructions and teaching a concept, I could do that with my son or daughter, and that would help me as a parent. So this is not only helpful for students, it's also helpful for parents and teachers alike. So those are some of the videos. Some of the benefits, excuse me. Now, I do have another question. Should teachers create all of their own videos? No, I see some of you saying no. Let's see, IXL, Khan Academy videos are great. Yep. Nope, there's already a lot of really good ones out there. There absolutely are. Should teachers create some of their own videos? Yes. Yeah. If I were to be teaching in the classroom now, I would create a lot of those on my own. However, there are a lot of really great videos already available. And sometimes it's helpful for a student to hear from another expert or from an expert. And they may want to go out and find some videos that actually teach some of this content or some of the concepts that we're talking about. And students can use those for first teach. Really, if you use videos as your first teach, it allows the teacher more time to spend with individual students, to facilitate, to provide activities that help them apply the knowledge. It actually gives teacher back some of that time that they're spending in front of the room, giving instructions, giving directions, providing a lesson to everyone. It gives back some of that time. Absolutely. Students, I love this. Students can also create videos for their classmates. They absolutely can. And what a great way for kids to show what they've learned and to help other kids. Because we already know whenever you're teaching something, you never become a real expert until you try to teach it to someone else. And then all of a sudden it makes sense. and you're helping others, as well as the information being more firmly embedded in your own brains. The resources that we have are also, our resources also have great videos available, HMH and STEM Scopes. Absolutely. There's lots of great places to get videos that you can use. Now, can we use this in the classroom? Yeah, this could be one of the stations that your kids go through. You could actually do a whole teach if it's a specific concept that even everybody in the classroom might be watching, except maybe the small group that you are working with. You can provide activities. How many of you use Edpuzzle? You can embed questions in there. You can have them take notes. You can have them do some open-ended questions using those videos. And they're very, very easy to create. And they're absolutely, again, I love the idea that the kids create those videos as well. All right. So what is it that's most significantly impacted for teachers when they use videos for instruction? What is it? What is impacted most? What does it give teachers? Yep. Time. That's our biggest enemy, isn't it? For teachers in the classroom, we've got too much content, not enough time. Too many things that are required of them, not enough time. Videos actually provide or give some of that time back to teachers because they're using less of it, less time for things that kids could be getting on their own. And that's why it's so important, because you can teach kids to start learning on their own, right? And yes, time with students. That's exactly what it gives back to them, is time with students, and time for other things, time for small group, time for conferencing, time for building those relationships, time to do those things that right now we say, what? I can't do it. I've got, 30 kids and I've got other things happening, and how can I make this work? You can drive multiple small groups at the same time. You can teach in English and in Spanish in the dual language classroom. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely, LaSalle. That's perfect. There are so many things that you can do using this particular method. Okay, so I've got a couple of resources here for you. A flipped learning flow for blended online classes. And I'm going to share this slideshow with you here in a bit. Should have done that beforehand, so sorry. But there is actually a lesson here that you can walk through. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because it would take some time to go through it. However, Catlin Tucker, our friend Catlin Tucker, has created, and this was created in July, I believe, a flipped learning flow for blended or online classes. And what she talks about here is how to use videos when students are present, not sending them on their, you kind of send them on their own, but using it in a regular classroom situation, whether it's online or whether it's face-to-face. And she basically goes through the video activity, how to engage or flip the activity, and the post activity. So you have a pre and the video and a post, okay? And she gives you some of the tools that you can use to create videos. Now, of course, we have Screencastify, and we do have a license for that, so it's unlimited. Kids can use it, teachers can use it, they can record their desktop, they can record themselves, just like we do here in the Google Meet. There's multiple ways that they can use that. Flipgrid is a big one. Edpuzzle is also a big one. Padlet is one that they can use to make predictions, to do a pre-activity, to go back and do a post-activity. You can, of course, use Google Classroom and questioning. And here's some more resources that you can use. Edpuzzle. PlayPosit. Is it PlayPosit or PlayPosit? PlayPosit, I think. I've not used that particular one, but you can pair videos with a range of question types, including fill in the blank, check all, poll, and discussion. So that's something I need to check out as well. And then post activities, some of the things that kids are already familiar with, Kahoot, Google Draw, G Suite. There's so many things in there that you can use. But you can go back and take a closer look at this just to kind of get an idea of what it might look like in a blended environment or an online environment. And now I'm actually going to turn this next piece over to our friend, Larry Snyder, because Larry is has been working with Khan Academy. How many of you have been in Khan Academy in the last 2 months? Okay, good. Sarah has, Misha, Larry. and see, that's me. I know what Khan Academy is. It has videos for math. Well, guess what? Khan Academy is way more than that now. And I'm going to stop presenting and I'm going to let Larry show you a little bit about Khan Academy, or a little bit of Khan Academy.
Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And we've all had this idea of what Khan Academy is or was. And a lot of times we've been using it for their videos. You can go on YouTube. You can find amazing Khan Academy videos, and they're terrific. But there's a lot more to Khan Academy than just videos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And here I am on a new tab. I'm going to go into Khan Academy. Khan Academy is in Clever, but when a teacher, or if we're going to start an account from scratch, my recommendation is to go in first directly into Khan Academy. And so I'm going to type in Khan Academy. And it's khanacademy.org. And when a teacher goes in for this first time, it's basically creating an account. When you go in through Clever, it builds the classrooms that we already have. And sometimes that's great, and sometimes it's not so great. And so I always recommend to go in first through just going in directly and then logging in with your Google account. Now there's the tie-in with Google Classroom, and that's kind of why you want to use your district Google account when you log in. And I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And right now I'm in as a teacher. And if you look down here, these are my classes that I've created. So, but let's take a look. What content is actually in Khan Academy? If I click on the top left corner where it says courses, I click on it and you go, oh my God, there's a lot there. Yes, there is. Take a look at the left side where it says math, pre-K to 8th grade. Now, ConKids is an app. It's like an app that they can use on tablets like an iPad or on an Android app. And if we have the Android capability on the Chromebooks, which many do, they can use the Chromebooks. But it's an app that they go in. It's kind of like an iStation app where they can go in and they work through it. But it's not truly guided through this teacher. But then we have the class, the content. Here we have 2nd grade. It goes all the way up to 8th grade. So elementary, we're good to go. And notice the get readies. This is interesting because if you take a look at the get ready for 3rd grade, it's not 3rd grade math. This is math that students need to be successful in 3rd grade math. So what if I have a group of students that are really struggling and I'm a 3rd grade teacher and they're coming in? Well, I can do the get ready for 3rd grade math and use it as a tool to get them up to speed. And the get readies have 3rd grade, 4th grade, all the way up into high school. But it starts at 3rd grade. Now, yes, for my high school people, you have a lot of math also in here to get them started. You have Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, Trig, and all of these are courses to get them through. Notice the test prep, high school for SAT. Going up, let's take a look at science. Now, science it leans more towards the high school. So you have AP College Biology, you have AP College Chemistry, you have AP College Chemistry, the beta, which is the new one that's coming through. You have high school physics. So my high school, this is great for you. Now, in arts and humanities, this is also high school. You have US history and all through. In economics, but notice English, reading and language arts. You have, again, up to 1st grade ConKids that they can use, the Chromebooks, the tablets. You have 2nd grade reading and language arts, 3rd grade, all the way up into 9th grade. And then we have even some life skills, social emotional learning. So you have a lot there. So let's take a look at what it looks like. I'm going to go into Khan Academy, the main. I'm going to get back to my main screen. Let me just kick back. Misha, let me know if it kicks back and it dumps my screen view.
Okay, I will.
I did kick it. Okay. But I think you still can see me.
Yeah, I can still see your Google screen.
Now, I'm going to go back in and let's take a look at what it looks like to use Khan Academy in a classroom situation. And yes, you can use this with Google Classroom, but I wouldn't do it. It builds a class for you. You can add students to your class, and then you can use it through Khan Academy. So let's take a look. I'm a 6th grade teacher at an elementary school. And this is my class that I brought in. To create new classes, a teacher can click Add New Class. They pick the content, and then they're ready to go. So I'm going to pick by Science 6th grade Math. We're all going to pretend you're my students. And when you go in, notice the left column size, the side here. You have the activity overview. Kind of gives you a look at everything that's going on. In course mastery, as they're going through the students, and what are they being successful in, and the placement and progress. Then here you have Assign, where you assign content to your students. Well, let's take a look at that. Yes, this is a full year of math, but it's not going to be your math curriculum. This is supplemental. So I'm going to go in. I'm working with add and subtracting fractions. And I'm working this with my students, and I have some that are really struggling. So if I click this caret down, here we have that lessons in that unit. And let's take a look at, and the students are really struggling, so I want to go into the very basics of add and subtract fractions. So I click on this arrow, and I click it down, and I want you to notice this are videos. You see like the video play button? So when the students click in and I assign it to them, they're going to get this video that they can watch, those famous Khan Academy videos that they have. So I'm just going to click and play for just a quick moment.
Of 6 and 4, and ideally the smallest common multiple of 6 and 4. And the way that I like to do that is I like to take the log.
Okay, we recognize the Khan's voice. They're great videos, and they're very easy to understand. And so I'm going to click out. So the students would watch that video. Then they're going to watch a video on adding fractions. They're going to watch a video of subtracting fractions. But then they have an exercise. They actually have a place where they can actually do work to show if they understand it. So if I click on here, let's take a look at what that looks like. And so they have the 4 questions. They have questions here that they will solve, and they have the visual. So if I'm a student, I'm struggling with this, I can actually solve 4 of these questions. And the great thing is the teachers get the scores. So they can see if there's understanding. So if I want to assign this to those group of students, and I don't want to give it to everybody, I just want to give it to certain students that are in the class that really need this. So what I do is I click on this checkbox here. Okay, so I'm going to give the first video, adding fractions. Here I give the video on subtracting fractions. Then I'm going to go ahead and give them this practice on adding and subtracting fractions where it shows visually the support images. So I click on that. I go to the top. You see where it says assign these three? So if I click on it, here I have the class it's going to. I can change the due date. Doesn't it kind of look like Google Classroom? Well, yeah, that's the point. And then so here I can put a due date. I'm not going to make it to Wednesday. I'm going to give them until Thursday. Notice where it says students, all students. If I click that down, I can pick which students are going to get the assignments that are in the class. So I'm going to go ahead and not give it to all. And I'm going to go ahead and jump down. I'm going to give it to Jessica. I'm going to give it to Stephanie. I'm going to give it to Ms. Higginbotham. Then all I have to do is hit assign. Now, I'm not going to actually do this because some of these are teachers and they're going to freak out if I give them homework. But that's how you assign work in Khan Academy. And when it comes time to see scores, I can go back, click in scores, and you're going to see the assignments. I'm using this as a presentation. I don't have scores, but this is where you would see that they watched the video and what scores they've gotten and that they have assigned and they've been successful. Now, how do you get students into your Khan Academy? Well, actually, it's pretty easy. If I go into students on the left side here, I click on students, and these are the students that I already have. So if I need to kick somebody out, I can do that. If I need to just make sure that they're in there, I can do that. But if I need to add students, I click on add students. And I got two main ways that I would recommend using this. If I'm doing this from scratch, I'm going to bring in my students from Google Classroom. Now, you're not using Google Classroom to share the content. You're using Google Classroom to bring in your students. And then once they're in, then they're already in your roster for Khan Academy. You can also, let's say I have a new student that comes in. They weren't originally on my class list in the Google Classroom on the first day of school, second day of school, but they are now in December. Then I can send and put this link for that student, and when they click on it, it puts them into the classroom. Don't create accounts for your students. Their accounts will already be there created. And when students log in, they're going to be using the Google login, or they go through Clever. So that's the magic of Khan. I know this was just a quick taste, but it's a great tool, and I'm excited for it for the district. All right. Ms. Shelley, is there anything else you want me to go through?
No, thank you, Larry. I appreciate that. I just wanted you all to be aware of the capabilities of Khan Academy and the fact that you can differentiate with it. You can assign certain things to certain students and they can be working on it and no one's the wiser, right? And so that's definitely one of the things that you can add to your toolbox. And as I've said, if you haven't seen it for a while, I was surprised at all of the things that it's able to do now. And but definitely think about offering or talking to your teachers about using videos in their classroom just to give them some of their time back. I know that is a crucial point, especially today, and I know teachers are really struggling with that. And I love the idea of having kids creating some of those videos. That even gives teachers even more time. And so that's basically all we've got today. If you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to add them to the chat here, and we will get to those. If not, then we will see you all very, very soon. But I appreciate all of you being here this morning and taking the time, and hopefully you learned a little bit about using videos for first instruction. Oh, one thing I was going to tell you, Catlin Tucker uses videos for her first instruction on almost everything she does. It's not something she does occasionally. She uses it as first instruction on almost everything. So I just wanted you all to know that. And Ronnie, I love that you're excited about Khan Academy. So was I when I saw it. It was like, oh my gosh, how did I not know about this? But yeah, it's very cool. Very cool. So thank you all so much. I appreciate it. You all have a great afternoon, great rest of your week. And if I don't see you again, enjoy your Thanksgiving. We did that already, right? Enjoy your Christmas. Enjoy your 2 weeks off. So have a great one. Enjoy, guys. Good to see you all.